Okay, I cannot even believe this, but I am gonna see Ariana Grande on tour. And what's even crazier is I am going to her birthday show. I'm going to the show in Austin on June 22nd. I have not seen Ariana Grande on tour, even though I've been a fan for so many years. So I don't usually do this, but I'm going all out for this concert and I'm going to make my own dress. So my favorite Ariana Grande look is her in this Maison Margiela dress at the Met Gala in 2024. And oh my gosh, I don't know if it's because this performance wasn't like fully filmed for us to enjoy at home or just the ethereal nature of this dress, but I just fell in love with this look and I want to see if I can recreate it. I'm a little bit intimidated, to be honest with you, but I'm gonna do my version of this dress. So yeah, let's go through the details of this dress and I'll explain what I am thinking right now, and I'm sure that'll change as the video goes on. But the first notable difference is I believe this dress is made out of tulle, and I'm just thinking that tulle will be a little bit too itchy for me to wear for a concert. So I actually bought some power mesh to use instead, and I was gonna bring you along to the process of fabric shopping, but I had to go to the design district in my town to go fabric shopping, and immediately when I walked in to the warehouse, I was completely overwhelmed because the location that ended up having my fabric was one of the smaller stores down there, and there were a lot of people shopping there as well. So I just chickened out of recording in public. So I went with this darker green color, and that was a hard choice for me to make as well. I didn't have that many options, but I was thinking that this might be the best option out of the fabric that was available to me. I'll put the picture on screen, but the other green fabrics looked too bright. I was looking at the type of green that they chose for this dress for Ariana, and I feel like the tone of green was almost like the tone of her skin tone plus green, if that makes sense. So I was kind of using that to apply to me. So I was trying to go with a green that would match my skin tone a little bit better and not look so garish on me. So yeah, that's why I ended up going with this. And also I wanted to say that I went with a local store because if I run out of fabric, I want to be able to just go down the store and get more fabric real quickly, because I think that this is gonna just take me a long time to make and I don't want to have to wait for shipping. So I went ahead and bought 5 yards of this fabric for now. I'm hoping that'll be enough, but again, I can pivot and buy more fabric if I need to. And actually, I think this was $7 a yard, so not so bad cost-wise. So yeah, I'm excited to work with this. The other design details that I already know I want to change from this dress is I believe this dress is layered over a bodysuit with gloves, and the idea of wearing gloves like that to a concert where I can't easily take it off is a sensory nightmare to me, and I just know I'll feel uncomfortable if I'm not able to wash my hands in the bathroom properly and things like that. So I think I'm just gonna make this a long sleeve dress instead of a dress with a glove attachment. Also, as I've been studying this dress over and over again, I believe the tulle pieces are cut in a flounce where it's a circle shape. So in the middle, there's a small circle shape, and then it goes outwards and gets into bigger circles. And I don't want to do that. I want to make flounces and just spiral it around. Also, I don't know if I'm gonna add beading and kind of glitter to it yet. I want to see how far I get before I commit to that, but it would be a nice touch. There's not many pictures of the back of this dress, but there are some videos of the performance where you can kind of tell what's going on in the back. So from what I can tell, the circle part of the skirt is only in the front, and then in the back, it looks like there are little circle moments on the back shoulder, almost like a wing or a cape. I love that. I think that's so cool. So I want to have my dress be similar, but again, not circle shapes, more of a spiral flounce. And yeah, I'm really excited to work on this. So for the base dress, I used a long sleeve shirt that's already in my wardrobe, and I traced a pattern from that. and I am just gonna cut that out and sew that up. But yeah, I just wanted to film the intro today, and I've never done a big project like this on my channel. I'm really excited to get into this process, and I think I will upload this video after I've been to the concert, so it'll be a nice little bonus at the end of this video to have footage from the concert. And yeah, I'm really excited to get into it. Updates for this video might be a little bit sporadic because I will continue working on this through the month while I am working on my other videos. So yeah, I am going to get started on the pattern making portion, and I'll see you for the next update. So I've been doing a lot of thinking about how the flounces should work and how they should come together. But today I actually want to test how the flounces are going to come together, if they're going to come together the way I'm thinking about it in my head, and actually try some things and find out the method of sewing these flounces, because I think that's the one kind of question mark in my head for this whole process. I don't often work with power mesh, although I have had a lot of experience with kind of slippery knit fabrics because that's what my whole senior collection was in college. And so I don't think it could be that different, but it is a little bit different since it's mesh. So I want to wrap up this workday really knowing the direction that I'm going with these flounces and figuring that workflow out, because if I can get that nailed down, the rest of this project will go really smoothly. Because if I can't do it by machine, I'm gonna need to do it by hand, and I kind of want to know that right now so that I can plan for that. You know how some influencers will start their TikToks with, "Let me hold your hand while I say this"? For today, I actually need you to hold my hand, because sometimes it is scary to not know what you're doing, and today is the kind of day where I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. But it's okay, because at the end of the day, I should know what I'm doing. Hopefully. We'll see. I ended up making some toiles back there, and I will talk through those a little bit later in this video. I really want to focus on the flounce test today, but I really didn't film the process of working through the toiles because I just needed some space to let things be bad before they were good. And that's also the reason why I ended up making a toile, because I had just so much pressure on myself that what I was about to cut out needed to be good in order to cut it in my power mesh. I know that's not true, but it was kind of a made up expectation that I had in my head. So doing it in some fabric that I didn't care as much about really allowed me to let things be bad and work through some of the fit issues. And yeah, I'm really happy with the fit that I have now. So that's why I really want to figure out this flounce thing, because this is the last unknown. So I think I already said this, but I want to again point out that I think the original flounces in the Mason Margiela dress are circle or oval shapes. I think that they're sewn around so that the end pieces that go towards the hem are wider. And I just want to do mine in a spiral because I think in my head that's going to allow me to be a little less precise, because with those circle cut pieces, it's so on the bias in the original, and it's also perfectly spaced out on that skirt, and I don't think I'll be able to pull that off so easily. So in my head, it's easier to do the spiral and then just cut off the excess flounce fabric that I don't need. So that is what I'm going to try today. I am going to use a wash and gone stabilizer. So it's a water soluble stabilizer, and I'm thinking I'm going to use my regular machine. At first I was thinking about using my B68 machine and doing some chain stitches, but I feel like the speed for that machine is a little bit harder for me to control, whereas on my regular sewing machine I can control the speed setting and go really slow around those curves. And I think I'm going to draw a spiral on the stabilizer as a guide with just some like heat soluble pen. I wish I had a washable marker instead actually, but I don't have one. Since this is water soluble, I'm hoping that the pen will go away when I put this in water. I don't really know how that works, but we're gonna try it. It's okay if I need to get a water soluble marker. It's just that I don't have one in my studio right now. And I just wanna test out the workflow for the flounce right now to just see what I actually need to do to improve. So yeah, if I do need the washable marker, I will grab that. That's no problem. Okay, I think I've put this off long enough. So let me try this. So just for this flounce test, I am just freehanding everything. So first I cut this flounce out. Flounces are so much more interesting to me than ruffles because they're cut in a circular shape. So the bottom edge is longer than the top edge, which gives this volume without having to gather any fabric like a ruffle. I decided to use this water-soluble interfacing for this project for two reasons. One, to make sure my machine doesn't eat this fabric, and just to make it all around easier to work with this power mesh. And two, I was really hoping to draw the guide of where to sew this spiral only onto the fusible. However, when I was sewing this flounce test, I realized that it's actually difficult to see the guide on more than one layer of mesh. If you were going to sew up this design or a similar design, I highly recommend testing the workflow for this process out for yourself on your machine so you can get a feel for what it's like and also adjust your machine settings correctly. For me, this worked perfectly with my regular universal needle, but I was prepared to switch it out for a ballpoint needle if this didn't work out. I also saw some comments online that a denim needle might be helpful for working with power mesh, so you could give that a try as well. I am so happy with the results of this test. It's not really ruffling here at the bottom, but I feel like that's true for the original dress as well, so I'm not too worried about it. I just want to make sure that when I plan my final design for the spiral, I have a lot of layers going on at the bottom so that it doesn't stand out as kind of one-dimensional compared to the other like kind of more ruffly pieces. I haven't washed away the fusible just yet, but I am really happy with it. I will say that the marking was easy to spot with just one layer of power mesh, but then when it was two layers, it was kind of difficult to see. So I think I will go ahead and pick up that washable marker and try that. But yeah, I feel pretty happy with this. I just use a regular straight stitch on my machine and a regular universal needle, nothing fancy. And these were the results. So I am really happy about that. I think now I want to go ahead and cut out the fabric for the dress because now I just feel better about the whole thing. And then maybe I will plan out the spiral for the flounces as well. And maybe if I have time, I'll even cut out the flounces today and get started sewing, which would be nice. But yeah, I am super happy with this and honestly relieved that this came out how I was thinking about in my head, because now I feel like the whole project is a little bit more manageable. I think the last thing that I don't know about for this look is what I'm gonna wear underneath this, because obviously it is mesh, so it is see-through. I think that if I run out of time, I think I want to just source something secondhand that I can wear underneath this. I am tempted to sew my own corset for the whole look of it, but yeah, it just depends on how much time I have. Okay, so I went ahead and ran water over that fusible, and now that flounce test is drying outside. So in the meantime, I thought I'd walk you through the toiles that I've made. So when I make toiles, I am kind of lazy and I try to kind of adjust things on the samples that I've already made so that I can basically do less work and also use less fabric. I think for me, I really dislike cutting fabric for the toiles for some reason. That part makes me think about how much fabric I'm using up for these test pieces. Basically, in this one toile is toile 1 and 2. So the first toile, I just copied a long sleeve shirt I had, and I made some small adjustments, like I kind of brought the body out a little bit. I think I left the sleeve kind of alone. Maybe I dropped the armpit just like an inch or so, but I wanted to just see what it would look like. And I feel like this is not terrible for just a regular long sleeve, but where the arm's eye is feels like it's just like kind of falling off of me. And I don't really like that. I think in the original outfit, I think it's like a long sleeve with a glove situation layered over a sleeveless long dress, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but for me, I just wanted it to be a long sleeve dress. And also for me specifically, I hate when things are really tight around my upper arms and really tight in my armpits. And this is gonna be a concert. There's gonna be a lot of people there. I kind of feel like because I'm wearing polyester, I might get a little hot. So I'm trying to build in some design elements that will allow me to feel comfortable and not freak out because things are clinging too tightly. So for this first toile, I just felt like the arms out just was a little low and I wanted to bring it up so that I would just feel more comfortable and more secure with that seam. Like even just wearing this now, I feel like it's just not in the right place and it's like falling off of me and it's making me feel like I need to adjust this. And then for the second toile, I cut away at the front and the back to bring the armhole higher, but also I dropped the armhole by a little bit more. You can kind of see how it's dropped here at the armpit versus here where it's a little bit higher. And so yeah, I just cut away that fabric so I didn't have to cut out a new sample, obviously. But then I did need to cut out a new sleeve and I started from a very wide sleeve. You can see that there's a big amount of seam allowance still in the seam there. But I started with a wider sleeve than I would need so that I could easily just taper it down and I would reduce the amount of samples that I would need to do. And for some people, I think this sleeve might be a little bit loose, but for me, it's perfect. It is just tight enough to give the look, but it is not squeezing my arm in any way, which I really appreciate. And I didn't bother making it longer than this, obviously, just because I just wanted to focus on the armhole adjustment and get that right, and then get the sleeve width right. But the last thing that I wanted to adjust that I couldn't easily adjust on this toile was I wanted to see this body flare out more so that it's more like the original. So that brings us to the third toile, which I'll put on right now. Okay, and for the third and final toile, I really flared the body out way more. For this sample, I kind of wish I had used the power mesh so I can really see what the excess looks like against my body measurements, but it's okay. I think I get the general idea. Also wanted to check the full sleeve just to make sure there weren't any adjustments that I needed to make, and it feels perfect to me. Again, I think this is a little loose for some other people's preference, but for me, this is perfect and very, very comfortable. So yeah, this is what I'm working with. Obviously the dress will be much longer and it's not gonna have this kind of weird trapezoid like hem. And so I feel really good about this. It is kind of funny how much time I'm spending perfecting the fit of this when I think people's eyes are really gonna just be drawn to the flounce, and it probably could have been just a very shapeless dress. But to me, this armhole part really mattered because it is something that I know that I am going to really appreciate the comfort of. So that's why I really wanted to get that right. So now that I feel good about the fit and the flounce test, it's time to go ahead and cut out my fabric, which I am really excited about. This will also probably be the time that I find out if I have enough fabric. So hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes well. I think it will. So yeah, I'm gonna start cutting. Okay, so yesterday I did go ahead and finish cutting out my pattern, and I was gonna film that process, but I ended up having to cut my pattern out on the floor, which I don't really love and was really uncomfortable. But yeah, that fabric is cut out now. And I also went ahead this morning, I don't know if you can hear me over the paper rustling, but I went ahead and drafted the flounce pattern, and I will link the video that I used to draft the flounce pattern down below because it was such a helpful video. And now I am going to get sewing, but basically for my sewing today, I want to sew just the shoulders and use that to make sure that I like the length of the dress. And then also once I like the length of the dress, I wanna make sure I place the guide where I want it and just make sure I like everything that's going on there. And then I'm going to actually start sewing, which will be exciting. And then I also wanted to show that I went ahead and got rid of the fusible from the Flounce Test and let it dry overnight, and so that's how it's looking. I was kind of playing around with the orientation to see how I like the spiral to begin and end, and I kind of like it this way where the end part is on the side. I feel like that looks better than it dropping off on the top like this. But yeah, I guess it's just personal preference, but for me, I think I liked the dropping off of the side. It dropping off at the bottom here, I don't really love that either. So I feel like it looks best like this. But yeah, I'm so stoked. This looks so cool. Let me go ahead and start sewing. I don't know if I fully explained that what I'm calling my spiral guide is basically my guide to mark on the dress where I want to sew my flounces. So I marked that guide on my fusible with washable marker, and after I tried the dress on to get my placement of the spirals where I wanted it, I attached this fusible to the dress, first with this glue stick, but later with some hand basting. Okay, I don't know where I left off yesterday, but I went ahead and attached the spiral guide to the dress and basted it in place. And then I just went ahead and marked a little bit of marker on the mesh itself to really be able to see that line, because it is kind of difficult to see when there are multiple layers of mesh to try to sew this on correctly. Yeah, so this is all attached here with the interfacing. And then I also went ahead and cut out my flounce, which is kind of arranged a little bit funny here. But I was thinking actually, because the mesh is kind of hard to see when there are multiple layers, really when there's more than one layer, it's kind of hard to see the line of the spiral. I was thinking of using my washable markers and marking my seam allowance at 1/4 of an inch and doing that for the whole thing of flounces before I sew it down. Feels a little silly. I'm trying to decide if I want to do that or if I want to baste it in place, because that's another way to make sure that I'm getting the right seam allowance. But I'm worried about basting it in place if all the layers of fabric on the base of the dress at once will make it just a nightmare to sew, because all those layers will be like flopping around. So yeah, I'm leaning towards just marking it with a marker. That's a little intimidating because there's just so much fabric here, but I mean, I can do it. I also really have to clean up and reset my studio soon because I need to film other videos to put up on my channel. So today might be my last day working on this dress for a little bit, but I'm really excited with how it's coming out. My goal for the end of this workday is to finish attaching the flounces to the front panel, and then we can think about how the back panel will look. So yeah, I'll definitely check in at the end of the day and show you the flounces. I almost forgot to say that actually when I was cutting out the flounce, I was really impressed to see that I did have just enough fabric. So I needed about 2 yards of fabric to cut out 2 flounces. Got the exact right amount of fabric for at least the front of the dress. For the back of the dress, I might need to go back to the store and pick up some more fabric, but I also might make the flounces smaller on the back, so maybe I will be able to use the scrap fabric I have. I'm not sure. I just want to see how the front looks and then make some design decisions on the back. Okay, I finished marking the seam allowances for my flounces, and now it is time to actually sew the flounces to the dress. So I'm gonna start soon, but I'm kind of looking at my sample to try to decide if I should start from like the inside of the spiral or the outside of the spiral. And maybe it doesn't matter too much, but I think I want to start from the inside because those tighter circles might be harder to get to at the end when all the flounces are like laying on top of each other. Maybe it'll be easier to work with less fabric in the tighter parts than more fabric. Maybe it really doesn't matter and I'm overthinking it, but yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. But yeah, I'm super excited. One thing that is kind of bothering me in the back of my head is I don't think I'm gonna get the layers at the bottom like the original dress that I'm trying to recreate, because the spacing for my lines is tighter. And I was thinking maybe I could chop some of the layers at uneven angles so that the layers will hang a little bit better, but I'm just really not sure if that's the way I want to go. I really just want to see what it looks like when I'm finished and make some decisions, but yeah, I don't think the layers are gonna look the way that the original looks, but I think that'll look really cool. I'm also not trying to recreate this like perfectly. It's like my version of it. So I think it's also okay if it doesn't look like the original dress. But yeah, I think what they did for the original is they like had circles going out to like a longer oval at the bottom so that the layers of tulle would like lay perfectly balanced like that. So again, I'm just not gonna get that look with this dress, but I still think it'll be cool. Anyway, I'm yapping as a way to procrastinate. Let me go ahead and get to sewing these flounces finally. Okay, I just finished sewing the flounce and I do like how it looks, but the bottom layers not having so much distance between them does kind of bother me, like I kind of predicted that it would. So I think I am going to have to undo this to kind of fix that up. I am planning to trim these top layers so that they lay a little bit better. I think one thing that I didn't realize is the bottom layers having such a big difference between them makes the whole thing look like more voluminous. But yeah, I think I want to fix that up and see how it looks. Yeah, I am impressed with this, but I'm at the same time bummed that I'm gonna have to redo this because it was not super easy to sew this up. And also, I did so much work to mark this spiral, but I'm gonna have to like fix that up as well, so it's okay. At least I didn't do both of them. Let me go ahead and get to seam ripping. After seam ripping, I marked a new guide in a different color so I could keep them straight while sewing. You'll notice that I didn't want to go through the trouble of removing the first interfacing, so it was kind of important to do the new guide in a different color. And then I sewed up the flounces for the second time, and I like this way more. The bottom feels more voluminous, so it feels more balanced, and it'll look even better after I trim up the top ruffles. And here's how it's looking with both flounces sewn on. Okay, it's been, I think, 2 weeks since the last time I filmed for this project because I've been working on other videos to try to keep my upload schedule the same while I work on this. But I am so excited to be working on this dress again today. I did do some prep work to get to where we are today, so I did want to update you on that. So I had to come up with a plan for the back of the dress because there aren't a lot of pictures of the back of this dress. I looked at the designer's runway show and I think the back of that dress is slightly different than the one that Ariana wears at the Met Gala. Because if you look at some of the videos, you can tell that there's some extra fabric near the back shoulder. And then in one picture of the back, I can tell that it's on either shoulder, kind of like Ariana is wearing wings in the dress, which is so cool. And then the other details on the back are kind of hard to make out. I have a suspicion that there is some sort of fabric going from one side shoulder to the other side, kind of draping down, almost like a sari would be, or something like that. But I don't think I want to take inspiration so literally there because number one, that's a lot of fabric to be wearing and that could get kind of heavy. But number two, because this is going to be a concert where a lot of people are in a tight space together, I'm not on the floor or anything. I got like seats, but I still don't want to accidentally like catch someone's outfit on the back of my dress or anything like that. I think it would just make it too complicated and too much of like a hazard to myself and others. So I'm not going to take that inspiration so literally. So I kind of sketched out kind of an idea of what I want to do for the back of the dress. It's a very rough sketch, but basically I want to do a smaller scale spiral motif on the shoulders. And then on the bottom hem of the dress, I want to do like simple tiered ruffle flounces. Not really ruffles, really just flounces on the back of the dress, but more like simplified than the front, so the front can really stand out on its own. So yeah, I needed to figure out what I was gonna do for the back because I was definitely running out of fabric. So I did go back to the fabric store and get 2 more yards of this power mesh. And I went ahead and cut out the flounces as well. And I think I have about a yard of power mesh left after cutting the flounces, which is great. So if I need to cut something new, I will have a little bit of fabric to get me by. And I definitely still need to cut the neckband out, so this is plenty of fabric for that. Anything more though, and I will need to get more fabric, but that's okay. They had plenty at the store. I also secretly was hoping I would have some extra power mesh because I'm really loving working with this fabric, so I kind of want to work with it more, and since I have a little bit extra after this project, I can do something else with it, so that's awesome. Hate That I Made You Love Me came out last Friday, and the music video came out on Monday, so that was really exciting. Love the new song, love the new era already. And that means it is June, so I can't believe the concert is gonna be here soon. I'm not stressed about getting this done. I feel like I can finish this relatively quickly. I think I need about 2 more working days on this, but then I need to figure out what I'm gonna wear underneath. So in the evenings, I've been checking Depop so I can see if there's anything that I wanna get to wear underneath this dress. But yeah, the concert is coming up soon, and then the new album comes out at the end of July. I just can't believe we're getting so much from her. Like, she's such a busy person and she's still making time for all of this. That's just so crazy to me. And it looks like she's filming this tour, so maybe there'll be a tour movie coming out soon too. That would be so incredible to watch. In the tour footage of her rehearsal, I also noticed that she's wearing a sweatshirt that says like, "We headlined the Met Gala." And I just think that's so funny and so cool that I'm making the Met Gala dress that she's kind of inadvertently referring to. So I'm so excited to finish this up. So yeah, I'm gonna work on the back of the dress today and hopefully get it done. I'm going to repeat the steps that I did on the front, and I already printed out my little spiral guide for the back, and I'll transfer the spiral over to the inner facing and attach it to the back, and then sew that up, and then attach the ruffles at the bottom of the dress. So let me get started making the little spiral guide. I made and attached my spiral guide to the back of the dress and then sewed it on. If you were gonna try this project for yourself, you definitely need some patience for the beginning spirals where the curves are tighter. This is where I needed to lift my presser foot almost like every 3 stitches. I could have made my life a little bit easier by seam ripping off the shoulder seam so I didn't have to move so much fabric around as I was going around these curves, but it was also super handy to be able to try things on and see how everything was looking as I went. Look at how incredible this looks. I am absolutely obsessed. I didn't cut the little tails off because now that I'm seeing it, I might keep it. It actually makes it look even more like wings. This kind of goes against what I was saying earlier about not having anything that was like hazardous for other attendees to like snag onto, but maybe I'll make a decision at the end and kind of cut them off a little bit depending. But oh my gosh, this looks so good. I'm so excited. I do want to trim the top edges a little bit, but I think I'm going to do that at the end. I want to add the ruffles to the bottom now. The only thing that's tough about that is I actually don't know what the final length will be because I kind of on purpose made the dress longer than I needed it to be. And also when I keep adding these applique swirls, it's dragging the mesh down. So now it's even longer than it was originally. So yeah, I just need to make sure I'm mindful of that when I'm picking the ruffle placement. But yeah, I think I'm going to do that today. Maybe I will have time to also sew up the dress today. I'm not sure. But yeah, I am so obsessed with how this is looking. Okay, so I feel kind of nervous to attach the flounce in a like straighter line. Technically it's curved, but basically not in a spiral, because when you attach it in the spiral, no one's really gonna see if that is like perfect. But with this kind of detail, it's gonna be more visible. And also I kind of feel like some people are gonna wish that I had done spirals on the back the same as the front, but the front is already so heavy. I really don't wanna add so much weight to the back. And I kind of strategically added it to the shoulder so it wouldn't look so plain on the back. Originally when I thought about this design, I was actually thinking of leaving the back plain. So this is at least an upgrade from that. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and attach these so that the raw edge is like under the flounce, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna sew it so the fabric is in like an upward position, but when it like flips over, it'll be over the raw edge. So I'm gonna do that. And I'm also, for this one, I don't think I wanna add interfacing through the whole like section. I think I'm just gonna add these little pieces of interfacing at the beginning and end when I am like back tacking, because I feel like that's sort of where it gets tricky and my machine wants to eat the fabric. So we're gonna try that and see how it goes. I forgot to mention that I marked where I wanted the back flounces to go with washable marker, because otherwise it would have been hard for me to tell if my lines were straight. Here's how the back looks so far with me holding in the side seams, since they are not fully sewn together yet. Hi, I'm back in my studio. It is Sunday. I have been trying to not work on the weekends, but I am gonna make an exception for this dress because I feel like my excitement for getting this project done is like overshadowing everything else that I need to do during the week. So it's kind of hard for me to balance the other projects that I have going on for the videos that I need to post for my regular video schedule and this dress. So I just want to get it done. And also the tour is coming up fast. So realistically, I need to finish this so that I can have something to wear for the concert. As I'm filming this, the opening night was actually last night and I watched some of the TikToks. I was trying not to watch too much because I don't want it to be completely spoiled for me, but I got so excited. So yeah, I really want to finish this dress. Today what I really want to focus on is I want to attach the sleeves to the dress. So that means I need to finish off the shoulder seams, attach the sleeve, and then sew up the side seams. And then if I have time today, I also want to finish the neckband. And then after I finish all that, it'll be cleaning up. So I need to trim down some of the ruffles and kind of fine tune it a bit. Obviously, I need to wash off the washable marker and the interfacing. And also, if I have time, I want to add maybe some beads or some clear sequins to make it kind of sparkly. But that's just like a if I have time to do it kind of thing. Oh, and in addition to fine tuning the ruffles, I might need to cut off a little bit of the length at the hem because it is a little long on me. But yeah, I want to have the bones of the dress done so the other fine tuning things can come as I have time to do them. So let me go ahead and get started with sewing. I'm going to be using my B68 serger for a lot of the seams today because I need them to be stretchy. So yeah, let's go over to that machine and start sewing. I serged the edges of my shoulder seam. Even though I had sewn them with my regular machine, I just wanted to make sure to serge them for extra reinforcement since this dress is getting kind of heavy. Then I attached the sleeves to the dress while working flat. So I just serged the armscye and then I pinned some of the flounces out of the way before I closed up the sleeve and serged all the way down the side seam. And here's how this is looking so far. Oh my god, please ignore my studio. It gets so messy when I'm working. But this dress is so worth it. I will be trimming the back spirals so that it has more of a voluminous look, but I am loving how it's looking so far. Okay, it is Friday, June 12th, which means it is exactly 2 weeks from the Austin show that I'm going to. So it's definitely crunch time. I need to get the final details on this dress finished. I also have friends staying with us next weekend, so I don't want to spend next weekend scrambling to get things ready. I would really like to wrap up with this week if possible. So today I'm going to work on shortening these like ruffle pieces, like the top couple layers so that they lay a little bit nicer, and for the front I want it to lay more like the inspiration. I am a little bit nervous to be honest because I feel like this looks so good, so I really don't want to mess anything up. So what I'm planning on doing is using a washable marker and kind of marking exactly how I want to trim back pieces, and then I'll carefully use my scissors to trim away. And obviously I need to be very careful to only cut one layer at a time. So yeah, I'm gonna work on that. And I also need to shorten the length of this dress as well. And then this weekend, I really need to figure out what I'm gonna wear underneath this dress because I have no idea. I'm still kind of looking on like some secondhand sites, and I even went to the thrift store last weekend and I just didn't really find anything that I really liked at the thrift store, but maybe I need to check out some more thrift stores just to keep on on looking, I saw these butterfly hair clips at Ulta, and I thought these would be perfect to put in my hair just like here and here, because it would kind of look like those like face pieces that she's wearing near her eyes in the Met Gala outfit. I really did not want to do the face attachment thing because that would just be so overstimulating for me, and I really ultimately want to just have a good time at this concert. So I thought this would be a cute idea to have like a similar look but not have to try too hard. And honestly, I'm not really good at doing my hair. I like that this will elevate my hairstyle as well. But yeah, let me get to trimming back these ruffles. I don't know how much I'm gonna film since it's gonna be like dark color, so I don't know what is gonna really show up very well. And it'll probably be a lot of like me holding the ruffle up and like checking the measurement and then kind of marking it. I am still debating the idea of putting sequins, but I would really need to hand sew that, and I don't know if it's worth the amount of effort since I am probably only going to be wearing this dress once. We'll see. I still might get some sequins because I think it'd be so cool to have that little sparkly effect, but we'll see. I'm kind of going back and forth in my head on like if I really want to commit to that or not. I think the look is so cool without the sequins, but adding the sequins would be so fun as well. I don't know. But yeah, it's possible that the next clip you will see in this video after me trimming back these ruffles is me in Austin getting ready for the concert. So I am so excited for future me in this video. The trimming process took a long time and I had to take breaks because it's a lot of looking straight down, which was surprisingly hard on my neck and shoulders. I got a couple clips of me trimming back the flounces, but I was really working on this on and off up until the day before the concert. Okay, I was way too anxious to talk to the camera on the day of the concert, so I'm here a couple weeks after the concert to wrap up this video. Let me just get out of the way that was an incredible concert. I used to go to a lot of concerts before 2020, and I have been to a handful of small shows, but nothing was as big of a production as this was. So this was definitely my biggest concert in a long time. The night that I went was the first night that Ariana did the high notes for Break Free, and that was so surreal to see in person. I also got to be part of a fan project for the first time. For Ariana's birthday show, we held up red hearts during Hampstead, and that was so magical as well. Okay, let's talk about the full look and what I wore underneath this dress. I got this kind of corset inspired nude sports bra from ThredUp, and then I paired it with the Thigh Society cooling shorts. I really wanted what I was wearing underneath to be secondhand, but I did have to go ahead and buy these Thigh Society shorts new, but I have been eyeing them for a while to wear underneath dresses and skirts, so I am still happy that I purchased them. I also wore my Doc Marten Mary Janes, which I already owned. I did briefly think about getting some secondhand tabbies because that is what she's wearing to the Met Gala, but ultimately I don't think I would wear those shoes outside of this look, so I decided against it. And then for my hair, the butterfly clips were perfect, and then I paired that with a sparkly green eyeshadow look. Now I want to talk about more technical details when it came to finishing up this dress. So to complete this dress, it took me about 6 yards of fabric total. The washable marker worked so well for me, and I would use them again for basically any project. And the water soluble fusible was awesome too. I just want to note that when you are rinsing away that fusible, you really want to make sure you're getting all of that gluey residue out of your fabric, because if you let it dry with the residue still in there, it'll make your fabric stiffer and ultimately change the drape of your fabric. So I made sure to use slightly warm water and soap for good measure, and I did a couple of rinses just to make sure I got all of that fusible out. But I would highly recommend both of these tools if you're going to be working with power mesh, because they worked so well for me. Since I didn't know what length I wanted until the very end with shoes and everything, I just cut the hem off, and since the hem of the dress and the sleeves were left raw, I wanted to make sure to reinforce those edges. So I used a hand sewing needle and did a couple of back stitches right where that seam ended. I didn't end up sewing the sequins since I ran out of time, but in a way, I feel like that makes this dress more wearable for me personally if I wanted to style it again casually over a graphic top or something like that. I also didn't paint this dress, which I never said I was going to do in this video because I kind of knew I wasn't gonna have time to do that. But if I had started this dress earlier, I would have given it a try. I think Kathleen Illustrated has a video where she is painting a dress with this watercolor kind of effect. And I think this method would work for this kind of fabric. So if you were gonna attempt this dress and you want it to be more accurate to the original design, I'm gonna link that video down below for you to give it a try. And I would love to see it if you try that out. Also, if I had to do this project again, I think I would actually do the rosette pieces similar to the original design where they are concentric circles. I think I already said in this video, I changed my design so that it was a spiral because I was worried about how much control I would have when I was sewing the mesh. But actually, with all the different steps that I did with the interfacing and the marker to mark my seam allowance, I was so surprised to see how accurate I got. And so actually, I think that I could have done it. It would have taken more fabric, but I will say that trimming back the flounces afterwards to get the correct look was so tedious, so maybe it would have been worth it. I was really surprised to see how much I enjoyed working with this power mesh. I'm even considering reinterpreting this design as a top so that I could wear it more casually. But yeah, overall, I'm extremely proud of myself. This dress came out better than I even imagined. Before I started really working on this project, I was kind of trying to talk myself out of doing this design because I thought it was just gonna be too hard. But now I'm ending this project with so much more confidence in myself and in the creative process. And I know this video is super long, but I am also so proud of myself for vlogging through the whole process because it is so scary to not know what you're doing on camera, at least for me. So thank you so much for sticking with me through this video if you're here at the end, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!